Welcome to Marketing Mondays. I'm Ob, your chief cultivator here at Dandelion Branding. We are on an absolute mission to make sustainability part of mainstream conversation. Every first and third Wednesday, we share sustainability stories that you might have missed on our podcast, Environmental with Dandelion. But I'm here on those other weeks on Monday to help you tell your sustainability story better. Because the reality is that marketing for sustainability is different than marketing for a typical brand. And you need to know that if you're growing your business in the sustainability world. So typically here I focus on a specific niche, but because we live in the world that we live in these days, we've been talking a lot about the political environment lately that we're living in. So I really wanted to expand on my last live with a little toolkit that you can use or just kind of go back to when you find yourself in a little bit of a political pickle. Uh, I guess head down to the comments and let me know the number one issue that's holding you back from sharing your brand values with your audience, especially if they're political right now. Um, so, yeah. So, could it be that the world is just very politically sensitive right now? That the headlines are chocked full of lawsuits and there is more scrutiny on sustainability claims than ever before. And this is coming from both your audience and things like the ACA, sorry, and like the FDA and folks that like really crack down on claims in the US uh, and in the UK. So here is tool number one. It's vet your claims. Um, Nobody really loves a gossip. I will always say that staying silent cannot be your option because that is falling prey to the green hush. So, how do you stay loud and proud and while protecting your business? Well, tell your truth. But make sure that you're vetting everything that you say if those things can be considered claims. And this is about arming yourself with facts, right? So every single claim that you make, whether it's from your products to your mission, needs to be backed by a citable source. So if you can, use more than one. I don't think I really need to go over like what source citing means, but I'm gonna a little bit. Um, because for me, and I think a lot of brands and folks out there, that research for your claims can literally start anywhere. That includes if you're like seeing something on Instagram and you're feeling really inspired by it, just make sure that you're putting your facts through a vetting process and just add that process into the communications that you're doing. It can make a huge difference and it definitely protects your brand. So Soil Heroes Foundation is great at this. They don't just go around going like regen agriculture is better, even though it is. They regularly do testing on their own products and they share a lot of published articles that come out with valid research. Um, I do want to make a note here that the word claim is different in every industry. um, the hardest hit when it comes to claims is always going to be supplements and beauty industry, and that's for good reason because that stuff goes in our bodies, it goes on our skin, our face. Uh, so if you want me to talk about claims, put that in the comments because I would definitely be interested in talking about how to deal with claims for specific types of industries. That's kind of a something that we do a lot here at Dandelion because vetting their claims is really important. It can make or break a company. And if you get got by one of those agencies out there, that can cost you a lot of money and it can really screw up your year or your business. Yeah. So, tool number 2 is learning to differentiate between claims and opinions. I feel like, in my opinion, a lot of the political issues in the world are because differentiating between claims and opinions is not in every politician's toolkit, right? So let's just do some definitions here. A claim is a statement of fact that can be proven or disproven with evidence. An opinion is a personal belief or feeling, but it doesn't require objective substantiation. Wielding them at the right time with a level head and a clear differentiation is the best defense against trolls and people who come at you while you're running your brand. Um, so they're going through a moment right now. But a brand doing this really, really well is Ben and Jerry's, the ice cream. If you haven't heard, definitely Google them and get yourself updated on what they're dealing with right now. I think that it is really poignant. Um, but they are notoriously outspoken with both their opinions and the vetted claims that they use to back them up. Now, so I'll give you a little background here is they were bought by Unilever a while back, and Unilever does really well in the claims department, as they should. They're massive. They don't want to be screwed over. They are in a lot of spotlights, so they should do really well in the claims department. But they felt that the opinion side of Ben and Jerry's wasn't how they wanted to represent Unilever, even though that is how Ben and Jerry's wanted to represent Ben and Jerry's. So Jerry is now actively stepping aside from the brand so that he can share his opinions openly on activism throughout the world while Ben continues to run the brand together with Unilever. I think there's no love lost there from what I'm reading. There's no love lost there. But this is a big movement, right? So this is where you can see the difference between opinions and claims. Okay. So, and honestly, big props to Jerry on this one because wow, what a big movement, right? Um, yeah. So, tool number 3 is to stay very planned and and proactive. I'm reading this. And staying proactive in your story. And I would say provocative in your story too, but like maybe that's a different life. Know your story and what you stand for. You should already have this down pat. If you're new here, then let's chat about what that looks like for you to know your story and have a very clear idea around what you stand for. And watch how the environment changes in the spaces that you stand for so that you aren't blindsided with new news. Look at things with a critical eye. Um, it still is going to happen, especially in the political world excuse me, when things are wild all the time. The world is interconnected, so you're probably gonna be blindsided at least one time. Um, when you are really rooted in your story and you know what your values are, you're not gonna feel all flighty about it. You're gonna feel confident enough in the information that you do have to confront the issues that you see head on, right? Um, Staying really planned can be harder because how do we plan for things like tragedy? Like how do you have a value around, let's just say, war? and war strikes, and what do you do around that? What do you say around that, right? That's going to be case specific. So, what I mean here is to set up a system where you're consistently communicating your values, even when that's not happening. Um, Maybe war isn't the best example because war seemingly is always happening right now. But just make sure that you're consistently communicating your values so that when you do show up for an issue, you aren't blindsiding anyone else, right? You're not alienating people who didn't know what you stand for in the beginning. A really good example of this is Patagonia. I feel like I use them as an example a lot just because they are so well known. But from their "Don't Buy This Jacket" campaign to their Worn Wear program, they consistently communicate their values and activism, and that builds trust and ensures that their audience is never caught off guard when they take a stance on political or environmental justice, which they do. And nobody's confused by it. They're like, "Oh, Patagonia's speaking again about environmental justice or about, you know, politics." So, yeah. Tool number 4 is to know when to pick your battles. I would say this is one of the more important ones here. And I say this to Dandelion clients a lot because sometimes the news can feel like one sucker punch after you know, like you're just constantly being slapped by this. Um, I'll give the green program as an example here. They're top of mind because we literally just had this conversation. The owner, like a lot of you out there, is super empathetic, and this world is harsh and it's violent and it's loud, and it can be a really hurtful place right now. And they want to say something and do something about this like constant barrage of negativity in their space. They work with universities, and there's a lot going on in the university space right now that is really heartbreaking. Uh, yeah, and uh, you know, we took a breath. We were talking about what can we do here, and we took a breath and we talked through what inspires them, what the owner's values are, and what their brand stands for. And not just generally, but what really matters here is the difference between them. So, what does a brand say, and what does the brand's owner say? And in that case, you know, the owner of the company is the face of the company. So in this case, it's like she could talk about her own personal values on her personal LinkedIn profile versus what the brand stands for uh, on the brand profile. And we really, we made a plan, we chose the values, we chose the battles we wanted to fight, and what we can strike out against with open opinion backed up by those vetted claims. So we got just really deep down into what matters and how to communicate about it. And that's pretty much your toolkit. Am I promising that this is going to keep you out of the line of fire? No, that's also not the point here. I'm of the opinion that all press is good press. Sorry that that's a hot take, but if you are following these tips, it's going to help you and your brand a lot when you do come under fire, or when you are in the press for something that is said or done, or when you are ready to step up and choose those battles. So that is, vet your claims, know what you're saying is a claim, and have the data to back it up. Learn to differentiate between claims and opinions. And I will add a caveat here that when you're wrong, own it. Own it. Tool number 3 is to stay planned and proactive. Make sure that everybody knows what your values are so that when you talk about them, they don't feel blindsided. And number 4 is pick your battles. Choose what to talk about, and and be discerning about what that is. Don't choose every battle. In business, if you are an owner of a company and you have a personal brand, you can say what you like on your personal brand. But a brand, unless you are actively an activist brand and that is what you do, a brand will have a smaller set of battles to take on. I'm using the word battle, but it will have a smaller set of things to talk about when it comes to what they can step up for. So, really understand what that is for your company. And as always, thank you so much for the work you're doing in this transition to a more sustainable future. I know that it is tough. It's tough out there right now with sustainability, especially with what's going on. And if no one told you today, you are making a difference and you are doing enough. Please let me know what marketing toolkit you'd like me to talk about in the future or what niche you want to know more about. My next Marketing Monday is in 2 weeks, and I will be talking about energy storage and what that could look like, and sustainability. Our next environmental podcast comes out next week, and I chat with Ralph from Control Energy. That episode is fantastic and really inspiring. So give it a look. If you could please take a couple of seconds, and if you're watching this on YouTube, like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and share it with all your eco curious friends. And I will see you next time. Bye.